back to the channel, my friends. On today's video, we are going to be replacing the ignition coil on this Echo leaf blower. This is a PB-500H. Some of the other models are going to be very similar. We will need to remove this auto cover or the cage. So one of the first things you want to do is disconnect the plug or the ignition wire. And there's these Allen bolts here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Those are 4mm Allens. We should be able to pick this and remove this cover just like so. Remember, it's up and over. It needs to go up and over the spark plug. And that will actually expose the cover that's down here. So we'll also be removing this Phillips screw at the bottom. So once you have that Phillips screw loose, it should come out all the way, and the cover will come off just like so. And that will expose the ignition coil, which sits right here. Now you can see it's tied in with a couple other wires. We'll go ahead and cut these ties off. And you may have to loosen up this bolt which holds the throttle cable, just because the ignition wire is routed behind it, and it'll be kind of hard to get it out without having that off. So we'll go ahead and cut these wire ties, get that loose, and we'll fish this wire out from there. So with this Allen bolt loose, I was able to pull the ignition wire from behind it. Now there's going to be two connections, or actually there's going to be one connection on the ignition coil, spade connector. We'll go ahead and disconnect that. And the other wire remained is actually part of the coil. There's two screws holding the coil in, so we'll go ahead and remove those. So with those off, you should be able to remove the ignition coil. Now let's take a look at our new coil. This is an Amazon purchase. You want to obviously go ahead and compare them. They're very similar, except the original will have this grommet, which will transfer to our new coil. That grommet actually fits right through here on the cover. And your original coil actually has a nice plastic covering over it, which many of the new ones won't. It still has this heat shield over it. We will see if we can transfer this onto our new coil. So I was able to remove this protective tubing off of our original coil and install it on the new one just by pulling the end off, and this clip will actually come off. It's just pinched on there. And now we can go ahead and put some dielectric grease on it, and we should be able to slip this boot right back on it, and we'll get this installed back on the machine. I was able to mount it in place, but it's only hand tightened. Remember, we will have to adjust the gap on this coil. Coil does come with a air gap card, kind of sort of. If yours doesn't for any reason, you can just use a business card. What we'll do is slide this in between our ignition coil. Remember, it is magnetized, so we'll tend to stick to the flywheel there. So we need to put that in between and then tighten up our screws. Positioned properly, I was able to push the coil up all the way and tighten these screws up. You want to make sure the card moves back and forth, just leaving that enough gap between the coil. If you look at the coils, these prongs up here, and the flywheel or the rotor, stator, what have you, that rotates. You don't want it in direct contact, so this will give it just enough gap. As you can see, that'll move back and forth. Now we'll go ahead and fish the ignition wire through as it originally was. Ignition wire routed through as it should be. Now we're ready to go ahead and install the cover back on to the coil. Remember, you do have a grommet here. Wire comes out and it goes right through this opening here on the cover. So let's get that closed up, cover buttoned up, and we've used some plastic ties to put these wires together kind of in their original position. We're ready to go ahead and put our main cover back on. So the cover is back in place. All the bolts are tightened up. We also went ahead and tightened up all the wires. You want to make sure none of that interferes with your throttle or anything like that. Looks like we're in good shape here. We'll also be converting this PB-500H from a hip mount to a tube mount. So stay tuned for those videos. I thank you for watching.